Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Mindy Eggen, and I'm excited to be here today to share with you a fun technique of ink blending with our stamp sets. I'm going to be creating a postcard, but this is actually going to go on a card front. I'm not going to actually turn it into a postcard, but it'll have that really fun postcard look. The stamp sets that I'm going to be using today is the Postcards and More. I have the Elegant Thoughts stamp and die set, which is the current freebie for this month, the diagonal stripes, but I'm going to switch that out for the snowy background. And then I also have the Always Thinking of You stamp set. I really love the paintbrush and that paint swoosh that is on that stamp set. So that is what I'm going to decorate my postcard with. So first I have a piece of white cardstock. This is the layering weight white cardstock from Gina K Designs. And I have it cut to about 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Because once again, I am not actually turning this into a postcard, but it's going to have that postcard look on the card front. I started by centering that T about halfway on my card. So that's going to be about the 2.5 inch mark. And then I centered the word postcard at the top of that. So I really made sure that I had even margins on each side of the word. I'm stamping this in the Gina K Designs black onyx ink. And if I want to get a really good impression, I'm going to stamp it again. Just make sure to stamp gently with the T because those are really fine lines. Then I'm going to start building up the design of my postcard, starting with the postcard mark or the postage mark up in that top right-hand corner. Again, just stamping in my black ink. I'm going to leave all the color to the paint swish. So that one I am just going to stamp once. My stamps are very well loved because I've used this set numerous times. But if yours is brand new, you do want to condition it a little bit by either rubbing your hand over it or inking it up with Versamark ink. Then I'm going to bring in the lines, which is typically where you would write the name and the address, but I don't want my lines to be that long. I want to leave a little bit more of a margin over on the right-hand side. So after I made sure that the lines were straight, I picked it up with the Door of the Misty, and then I'm going to mask off just a little bit on the end there with a Post-it note. Then I can go ahead, ink that up with the black ink, remove the Post-it note before I stamp it down, and then just gently press. It's better to stamp it maybe 2 or 3 times gently versus pushing down too hard on the Door of your Misty. Now I'm going to start working on decorating my postcard. And I have a sticky mat inside of my Misty, so it's going to grip my cardstock and I can move my cardstock around in there to fit this large stamp. So here I'm noticing that the top left-hand portion is kind of bumping up against the edge of my Misty. So I can pick that up, move it, place that down, and then I can come in with my stamp set. I really wanted this paint swoosh to kind of be swooping in from different sides of the postcard. So I lined that up, making sure to leave room because I want to have that paintbrush down at the bottom. Now the fun begins where I'm going to be kind of ink blending with my stamp set. I'm starting out with my lightest color, which in this case is lemon drop ink. I inked up the top portion of the stamp, and then I'm taking my blending brush and just dabbing along where the ink stopped to kind of smooth that transition out just a little bit. So this is a pretty decent sized stamp. There's a lot of coverage in here for it. So I do want to stamp it again to just kind of help build up that color a little bit and making sure to always come in with my blending brush to help smooth that transition out. I'm going to try and fit as much of the rainbow as I can with these paint swooshes. So I did leave a little bit of extra room with that lemon drop so I can have a pink and then have it overlap to create an orange. So I should get 3 colors out of this. I didn't clean my stamp set, but I did come in and ink up the bottom portion of that with light carnation. Again, I used my blending brush to kind of dab off where that pink ended. So that way it's going to have that really neat transition going from pink, overlapping the yellow to get the orange, and then having my yellow. It looks kind of bright right now or kind of wet. And once this ink dries, it's going to smooth out and create a beautiful blend. I'm going to work on the other half of the rainbow, so more of the cool tones. I cleaned the stamp. I moved my postcard on my sticky mat to accommodate where my stamp set is now down in that bottom right-hand corner. And I'm going to start off inking it up with Applemint ink. This one is a little bit of an experiment because We don't have a lot of this paint swoosh on there, and I really want to try and fit all three colors. So I am going to ink it up twice with the Applemint. Again, use my blending brush to help smooth that out. You could also use your paper towel or a rag to dab that up. But what I like is this is picking up ink, and I'm going to use that leftover ink in a little bit. So I'm happy with that transition. I'm going to come in with Blue Lagoon. This one was a little trickier. It might have been easier to use a mini ink cube for this because we are going to smooth out those lines once again. I do have a blending brush for all of my colors. So I grabbed my turquoise blending brush and I did dab over the ink altogether because when I was inking it up, I left some very significant lines from the ink pad, and going over that with the blending brush kind of helped smooth that out a little bit. I have a little bit of that Applemint down in the corner. And then as this Blue Lagoon overlaps the green, I'm going to get a darker green. And now my final color, I'm coming in with medium lilac. So this one, once again, just kind of up in that top corner, what's left to catch on the postcard. Blend that out with the blending brush. And the first initial stamp is a good way to just test and see how much room I have on the card front. I love the overlap of the Blue Lagoon and the medium lilac. So I did stamp that twice to get my complete rainbow on the front of this postcard. On the Always Thinking of You stamp set, there is a paintbrush and a little bit of a bristle, which is what I want to stamp at the bottom here. So I'm lining this up. This is the paintbrush handle. I'm trying to squeeze it in as much as I can. I still need to leave room for the bristles. Pick that up with the Door of the Misty. And for the handle, I'm just going to ink that in the black Onyx ink. I'm not going to add any layering or color to it. I really like kind of just having that black outline with the white inside of the paintbrush. Then I can move on to the bristles. And because I'm putting this right next to where I had stamped the light carnation, I am going to line my bristles up on my paintbrush. And then I'm going to be inking up in the light carnation since that is where the swoosh is kind of starting with. But I did want to have a gradient effect. So here, starting out with that light carnation, inking up my bristles and stamping that down. And then coming in with the medium carnation. So for this, I used the edge of my ink pad to catch just the top edge of the bristles, kind of where they will connect to the paintbrush. Used my blending brush to kind of smooth that out and stamp it down. And I can repeat that again or use the dark carnation if I wanted that even darker. For the sentiment, I am using the Elegant Thoughts. This has a lot of beautiful and kind of all occasion sentiments on it. It is currently the freebie and will be available in the shop during the next release. I picked Hello Friend that I'm stamping in the black Onyx ink. And there I have my really fun and colorful postcard. Now I'm going to be attaching this to a card front that I'm going to create using Kraft Carstock. And this is the snowy background. I thought at first I was going to use the diagonal stripes to kind of give more of that postcard look, but I'm head over heels in love with the snowy background stamp. So again, I have a sticky mat in my Misty tool to hold my cardstock in place. I placed my background stamp over the top and then I'm inking it up in craft ink. So it's going to be tone on tone. I don't need to ink up really the center because you're not going to see that. I really just wanted to get kind of those speckles going around the outer edge. Now keep in mind the inks do dry back a little bit, so you can stamp it 2 or 3 times depending on the intensity that you want. All of the ink that I picked up when I was working on the transition with the colors on the stamp set, I still have all of that ink on my blending brush. And I thought I would put that to good use by going around the outer edges of my postcard, kind of lining it up with the coordinating colors. So the yellow, I added some yellow blending around the edge, the light carnation, the green, just a hint of the green, and then coming around with the Blue Lagoon, and then also that medium lilac. I do need to be just a little careful with the medium lilac kind of running into the yellow a little bit because I don't want those to overlap. So I'm going to come just right up close to the yellow. Then I'm just going to add a tape runner behind my panel and attach it to the craft background that I created with the speckles. So you can definitely use this idea to actually create a postcard if you want to put some colorful paint swishes across your postcard to send in the mail. But I really like it as a card front And then I can always customize it and write the name of the recipient on those lines. There is my fun, colorful postcard. I hope you all enjoyed this technique. Thank you all so much for joining.